Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show, and you know the rest of it, another exciting guest. Today, we're going to talk with a young man who has an extraordinary podcast. Check this out, Set Up and Grind, the podcast. You guys make sure you subscribe, like, share, and follow. But he's here today to talk about something that we haven't addressed on this podcast in a 5-year period. And it's one of the most sought after questions that people don't really think about. I'm going to go here with this. What is the number one common fear for people? You guessed it right. No, it's not eating too many Whoppers and all that kind of stuff. It's actually public speaking. It's the biggest fear factor. And today, we have on the show the podcast host himself from Set Up and Grind. Let's talk like this. Set Up and Grind. Did I get it right? The one, the only Mr. Robert B. Foster to the show. What's up, you dog?
How you doing? And the show is Shut Up and Grind, not Set Up.
Shut up and grind. You know what? Look, Robert, my penmanship sucks.
No worries.
My penmanship sucks, dog. That's what happens when you get to be a tender age in your 60s. You go, oh my God, whatever.
Okay.
So you know what? This is tripped out. Public speaking is the number one fear factor that people have. And you teach people how to overcome that as well as other things. But before we do that, tell a little bit about this podcast. How did it come about? And then a little bit about yourself.
So when I first started the show, it was actually called Shut Up and Exercise because I'm a fitness coach, hence the tank top. Because I believe in showing up authentically, right? I would never wear a button-up shirt and a tie into the gym.
Right.
But the podcast started because in 2009, I was told I was never going to run or jump again. And now, as a fitness coach, as a competitive athlete, someone who's super, super active, I had to defy those odds. So once I finally did, I've done over 200 obstacle races, 22 track meets, 16 gold medals. I wanted to give other people that hope that they think that they can't do something, but they actually can. And so I converted the Shut Up and Exercise over to Shut Up and Grind because I wanted to reach a wider audience because the grind is global and the struggle is global. So I married the two, and here we are.
You know, it's funny because I'm also a retired professional bodybuilder and personal trainer. So I get what you're saying. I even incorporate that same method, shut up and grind. Well, I didn't say shut up and grind. I'm like, get that beast mindset and let's get this done. Quit making up excuses and let's get it done. But what was life like for you growing up?
I'm the youngest of 7. And for whatever reason, I drew the genetic short straw. I had a bad stutter. You can't see with the headphones, but I have skin tags on my ear. And I had an overbite. So out of all 7 kids, I was definitely the ugly duckling growing up. Watching my brothers, like there's a good gap between myself and the oldest.
Right.
But watching my brothers, they're 6 foot tall, they're muscular, getting their headlines, their names in the paper, all of this stuff. And to put it in perspective, as a freshman in high school, I was 5'4", 88 pounds.
Wow.
So they're big and strong. I'm short, skinny with all the other things that I mentioned that I had going on. So I spent the first 10 years of my life thinking that there was something wrong with me. It's like, why do I have the overbite? Why am I short and skinny? Like, why can't I excel like them?
Mm-hmm.
And to make it even worse, I know these are first world problems, but to make it worse, I was always so-and-so's little brother. Like, I wanted to be Robert Foster. They're like, oh, it's Monique's little brother. It's Ramona's little brother. It's Ralph's little brother. Drove me insane. But what forged the man I became was as that skinny freshman, I went to my high school track coach and I asked him for the record book. And he looked at me like, "Why do you want the record book?"
Mm.
Now this is my coach, my mentor,
Right.
someone that's supposed to be inspiring me. And he looked at me like I had five heads. And he said, "You don't have what it takes to be a high jumper." He said, "Why
Wow.
don't you go try the hurdles?" I was like, "I don't want a hurdle. Like, I want a high jump. Like, my sister does it. It looks fun. I did it in middle school. Like, I want to break this high jump record." And he doubled down. He said, "You don't have what it takes." So in
Mm.
that moment, I had two choices. I could have just listened to him and went and did hurdles, but I said either I high jump or I quit. It was like, those are the options. And then he's like, "Fine, do whatever you want." So we'll fast forward to my senior year. Not only did I break the high jump record and hold it for 21 years, I broke the triple jump record and held it for 24, and then I broke three other records as well. And
Wow.
it's not even about the breaking the records. It's just in
Right.
that moment, like the power in the story is in that moment. What
Hmm.
if I listened to him
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just went and did the hurdles? But
Right.
no, I had my goal, I had my personal reasons, and I stayed the course. I eventually grew myself to over 6 feet. I got right around 6'2". I think I shrunk an inch now that I'm 51, but I got up to 6'2", and I was able to carry out my mission.
Wow, that sounds almost like my journey in junior high to high school, but it was a little bit different. They was going to Pensacola, Florida for the outdoor track and field meet. And Coach Hugh Hicks, remember him saying, they're only taking 15
Mm,
individuals. And the first thing came out of my mouth was, I can't be that 15. I'm a freshman.
mm,
And he said, I want you to do me a favor, go home and look that word up in the dictionary and come back and tell me what it meant. And I came back, I said, Coach, I can't find it. He said, they never use it again. I made that
mm.
15. And from that moment on, everything became, I won't say easy, which it wasn't easy.
No,
It became more harder because when you achieve something, you continuously want to achieve more and more and more. We don't know that it's called validation, but the validation was really within myself. But let's go back to you. I didn't have that pressure so much like you did because I was the oldest in my family on my mother's side, but I wasn't the oldest on my father's side. But I still felt that pressure to want to succeed, not only for them but for myself. I know what it's like for my sister to always be said, "Hey, you Andre's sister," and be that tagline.
yeah.
When how did you get over that? Not just through being successful on the academic side, on the athletic side, but how did you manage to get rid of that period and become your own person?
By performing,
Wow, 1992.
I made my own headlines, and that's what I had. Is that once I grew, it was game
Yeah.
over because the drive was there, and I became a student of the sport. And on top of it, we didn't even have a jumps coach. Like, I did the high jump, triple jump, long jump, and the 4x1 relay. We didn't even have a jumps coach. The head coach was a distance runner, and the assistant coach was a thrower. So I had to get on my bike, ride to the library because we didn't have Google and YouTube back then. I had to
Yeah.
ride to the library, and I just studied the sport. So
Mhm.
once my genetics caught up to my drive, like I said, it was game over.
Who did you mentor your game after? Because I can't
My
think of many high jumpers. Let me think now, because I was a 1984 Olympic candidate. So I'm trying to
Okay.
think who was the high jumpers. I know who the hurdles was. You had Edwin Moses and Renato Nehemiah. I'm saying names people don't even remember, but I can't. I know there
I
was one
remember
Pacific high jumper. I just can't remember who that was.
Hollis Conway.
That's it.
That's it. But honestly, to answer your question, it was my sister. It was like going to the meets and watching her, and
Yeah.
she ended up becoming Rhode Island state champion. And just watching her mechanics, how she trained, how she practiced, and I really I hate saying it because it swells her head, but it was really her. And then my father, he himself was an Olympic candidate in the '60s, and he just always instilled in us to never settle. So to give you an example, if I would compete in the track meet, I'd be like, hey, I jumped XYZ, but did you place? Hey, Dad, I placed in the top six. Why weren't you top three? It's like,
Mm,
hey, I placed top three. Why didn't you win? And hey, I won. Why didn't you break the record? Right? It's like, hey, I broke the record. Did you qualify for nationals? It was always just never settle. It's like constantly get out there and train. Even in basketball, he's like, get out there, 100 free throws. He's like, you stay out there till you make 100 free throws, make 100 layups. He's like, there's no sense in going if you're not going to be on the court. He said, so if whatever it is you want to accomplish, you got to put that work in, and then that just stayed with me my entire life.
what was your biggest fear factor though? Because you're talking to an athlete, and I might need to ask myself that question. Like, what was your biggest fear factor here? Was it
Athletically,
athletically, academically, just in general? Because there were moments, and as a track guy, I would literally go to the sand dunes early in the morning, and I would literally go. Now they call it meditation, but at the time I didn't know that was meditation. I would just sit there and say, okay, what do I want? How do I get there? And it always revolved with that constant mindset of training. You know what I mean? I think the
uh-oh.
fear factor for me was not putting in the work to get to the point that I needed to reach. What was it for you?
So it wasn't necessarily a fear. It was once I took my focus off my competition. I say you can be the hunted or you can be the hunter.
Hmm.
So for those first few years, I was the hunter. I was looking at my competitions, like what can I do to beat him? What can I do to beat him? It
Mhm.
wasn't until I flipped it and I became the hunted. That's where all of my gifts got amplified because now you have to train. You have to train. Everybody's coming for you. When you're
Yeah.
just another competitor, one of the best compliments I've heard was like, "Oh crap, Foster's here." I love that because that
Yeah.
that means
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
knew that they were going to have to work hard that day. So it wasn't even really like a fear of losing. It's
Yeah.
just that I built myself up to where I was the one who was feared versus my opponents instilling the fear in me. So
Wow.
I would say early on it was that
Yeah.
being afraid of my opponents. But once I flipped it though, and then I became the top dog, and I became the one people were worried about, that's when everything changed.
Okay. Are you like my twin brother or some shit?
Hey, maybe.
Yeah, because I get it, dude. Even when I switched to becoming a professional bodybuilder, man, I was like, okay, how do I switch this? And you're right. I never put it into that concept. I was worried about the competition. Then I became the competition. Like I wanted to
Yes,
be that. I became that guy that was like, oh shit, he's here. You know,
yes,
you know what? That's a bigger thrill than anything to me.
yeah.
Even if I mean, we want to win, but just the fact that you know that you got somebody thinking about you,
hmm Know what's
that's
funny? Know what's funny? So
what's
I
that?
donated I donated a kidney to my sister in 2011. Right, that's a separate story. But
Right.
because of that, there's this Olympic style competition called the Transplant Games of America. It's actually in Denver, Colorado this year. But because I'm a donor, I qualify to participate in the games. So they have like a full blown track meet at this event, and they have all the sports, basketball, the marathons, 5K, volleyball. They have everything. Pickleball now, singing competitions. So I was getting ready for the 100 meters, and like you can tell when someone is dialed in. Right? You can tell they just have the presence, they just have the aura.
Yeah.
So as I'm walking toward the warm up area, I got my tracksuit on, I got the shoes and got the bag, got the headphones, and the biggest thing is that when I lock in, I lock in. And so, as I'm approaching my age bracket, I believe I was 40 to 44 that year. As I'm approaching my age bracket, I hear the guys busting each other's chops over who's gonna win. And so this one guy is like, "No, you guys are all fighting for second." He's laughing. He's like, he turns around, he sees me. I won't cuss, but he's like, "Oh, f." just just from seeing me, I didn't say a word. but
Yeah.
he just knew I was dialed in. And I share that because in the speaking world, it's the same thing. Like if you show up and if you have any type of nervousness about you, the audience is gonna pick up on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's speaking, like presence matters. How you show up matters.
You this and congratulations. I mean,
Thank
heck,
you.
it's almost like looking at myself a couple years down before I got to where I'm at now. Man, I'm proud of you. So let's go
Thank you.
here. The shift to public speaking. That's the biggest fear factor for people. How did you develop yours? Were you always able just to articulate and speak fluently to people, or did you have to master that craft?
All right, let me answer your question with a question. What's your best sport?
Wow. Uh, Bodybuilding.
Okay, so bodybuilding is your best sport. Like you can talk about it, you can teach it, you can coach it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your worst sport?
Baseball.
Baseball. How often do you practice it? How
Never.
often have how often have you studied it?
Never.
Exactly, right? So you don't have a fear of baseball. You just don't practice it. And
Right.
that's the first thing I teach people. You do not have a fear of public speaking. You just haven't practiced it enough. Like
Wow.
anything else, you need reps. Right? If you never get on camera and talk, or if you never get up in front of people and talk, you're just not good at it. That's okay. I can play volleyball, basketball, track and field, swimming, like just name it. I can play all of these sports. You give me a lacrosse stick, I'm going to be the worst one on the field.
Right.
And I'm an athlete. I'm an all around, but I don't know lacrosse. I haven't studied lacrosse. I haven't played lacrosse. Haven't practiced lacrosse. But
Right.
if you give me a few months, give me a rule book, give me some drills, and then I can become a lacrosse player. So
Right.
public speaking is no different. You just have to get on camera, feel the butterflies. You're gonna say until you don't anymore. Once your stories become routine, you're gonna be able to get on any stage in front of any group and share your story. But right now, you're not afraid of it. You're just not practiced.
Is there a need for that particular arena? I'm finding that is a lot more in demand now with people having the free will to be their own creator of content. What's your take on that?
My take is in 2020, when COVID hit, the gyms got shut down, all the speaking events got shut down, all the events period got shut down.
Right.
I joined a lot of masterminds on Zoom because I figured I can't be in my gym. I may as well learn new stuff.
Right.
So as I'm in this one particular mastermind, it was about getting visibility. It was actually called the Be Seen. No, I'm sorry, the Be on TV challenge. And as I'm listening to people introduce themselves, a lot of people are not good at it. It's like this guy just rambled on for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, I still don't know what you do. It's like you're just saying words, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're not explaining what you do. So
Right.
the program that I created, that was the inspiration for it. I'm like, a lot of it's like, dude, you have $1 million business and you can't even explain it simply, right? So I
Right.
created a program called Speak About Yourself Out Loud,
Right.
which morphed into my book with the same name as my podcast, Shut Up and Grind. But it's to help people talk about themselves because people can talk about what they do all
Right.
day long, but
Right.
they can't talk about themselves. Like on my podcast, the very first question that I ask every single guest is, "Who are you at your core?" And it got to the point to where I had to start telling them backstage because I live stream mine. So I had
Mm.
to start telling them backstage because a lot of people can't answer that question. Like they want to
Why is
give
that
me
though? But why is that, Robert?
because they attach their identity to what they do,
Huh.
not who they are. I mean,
Okay.
granted, when you first asked me, I did that. I said speaker, podcast host, and all that. You strip away all of those hats, I'm a competitor. It's like I defied those odds in 2009 because I'm a competitor. I
Right.
rebuilt myself from losing everything in 2023 because I'm a competitor. Like I
Right.
had to step into who I am. If I attached my identity to that, I would have self-destructed because that's not who I am. Okay, so I went through that adversity, but my entire life I've overcome the odds. So when you lean into who you are at your core,
Right.
that makes it easier for you to stay within your purpose. When you attach it to what you do, what happens when a lot of veterans struggle with that because when they leave the military, their mission is done and they
Right.
end up losing themselves. Just to give you an example.
So they wind up getting caught up, self-absorbed in self-absorption, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yep.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's go back a minute, and you being so transparent. You talked about losing everything. Elaborate on that a little bit.
I am an eternal optimist. Like I always think the good in people. I always think things are going to work out in my favor. So I was with a person that I was supposed to be partnering with. Like when they closed the gyms, I was renting space from this guy. So I ended up getting behind on rent because he was still charging me rent even though the gym was closed. And he's like,
Hold
I
on a
could have.
minute. Can you say that again? Because that was one of the biggest handicaps that everybody dealt with. And I told people, I said, people still want this rent money.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he said he still has to pay his lease. So why shouldn't I still have to pay rent? I'm like, I mean, we didn't have like a written agreement, but anyways, so I came up with a plan. He had another location that wasn't doing group fitness. I said, so what if I implement the program over there that you're currently not running, and I generate the income of what I owe you?
Hmm.
And we agreed on a handshake. My fault. I should have got that in writing. So anyway, I generated far more than what I owed him, far
Right.
more.
Right.
And we were supposed to merge our businesses, and then he was just going to cut me a check each week. Because after COVID, I was like, yeah, I'm done with the business end because that was rough getting through.
Wow.
So he kept dragging his feet and dragging his feet and dragging his feet. He's not paying me. My bills are mounting. Like I ended up losing my car first, so I'm riding my bike everywhere, draining my savings, maxed out my credit cards. I'm like, dude, but the situation I was in, if he just paid me, everything would have been fine.
Hmm.
Back to me being the eternal optimist. He said enough to keep me on the hook. So now I'm getting an eviction notice from my house, right? I'm a father of five kids, so it's like, all right, I can't lose the house.
Hmm.
And I meet with him again and again, dragging his feet, dragging his feet. Then finally, just the day hit me. I'm like, this guy has no intention of paying me. So then I end up losing my house. I was homeless for about a week or so. Not like eat out of trash cans homeless, but like I was bouncing through hotels.
Hmm.
And then finally, I had to swallow my pride, and I called my mom. I was like, can I come home? I was like, I don't know what else to do. But I ended up dropping my keys on the desk, and I walked away. And I had clients that have been with me for over a decade. Like that
Hmm.
was one of the toughest things that I had to do. But I come back home and I literally had nothing. And for a hot second there, like I went into a pretty dark place. And before I called my mom, I think it was a night or two before I had to leave the house. I was drinking pretty heavily, and for a split second, I was ready to down a bottle of pills. It was like it got that dark, and fortunately, I couldn't find them. And then thankfully, I ended up passing out, and I woke up in the morning back with a clear head again. But yeah, but that was tough. So I had paused my podcast. I'm like, how can I get up and be all motivational when I'm currently in the pits of hell?
Yeah.
But then, but then is one day I was brushing my teeth and it just hit me. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, you literally have a show called Shut Up and Grind. Let's write this next chapter. So I restarted my podcast. I went to the local high school and to see if I could help out coaching track because I was actually going to pivot away from fitness. I
Hmm.
was going to go. I was going to go into digital marketing. Like I was in week 3 of a 16-week program, but
Right.
that just wasn't it. That
Hmm.
first track practice relit my soul. And
Mm.
then I ended up borrowing some money from my mom because I needed something motorized. So I ended up getting a moped. I went back to the gym, and then the gym that I'm managing now, that was the first place I inquired. I walked into that gym, the owner and I hit it off, and within 90 days, he gave me full reins to run his second location. Like all the positive things just started unfolding one after the other.
Mm,
And the takeaway here is one thing I always say on my show is when you're on fire, you can't see the fire.
mm,
Meaning when you're consumed by the problems. And
right,
when I hit that dark place, that's how I got there because I let the problems consume me. But
right.
then once I stepped back into my purpose, like all the opportunities, they were there, just waiting. But I
Yeah.
was so deep into that dark place, I just couldn't see them.
It's so funny. I just posted something yesterday on social media about how you have to let people go.
Yeah.
And it's not that you want to let them go. That's the universe saying, hey, blah, blah, blah. Let's go back to the dude. What happened to him? Probably had no remorse at all for what he did and what he put you through.
No, no, we kept all my equipment too. I had thousands of dollars of equipment in there. And finally I was like, you know what? Keep it. I was like, I started the gym in my garage. So
Ain't
I started my fitness business in technically in the spare bedroom of my house. And then as I got more clients, I moved to the basement, and then I moved into my garage, and then I finally started training in local parks. And then I built up enough of a clientele to start renting space at other places. Then in 2014, I opened up, with the help of other business partners, a 5,000 square foot facility. But
it?
so I built this from nothing. I'll do it again. And then I just walked away and just closed that chapter.
Wow. And it's probably funny. You didn't lose none of your clients. They probably, if they're loyal clients, they followed you right where you went.
I mean, I lost some because I'm in Rhode Island. Like Rhode Island is small, so something like 10 minutes more to their drive for some people, that's like too much. It's like
Really?
a bunch did come down to the new gym. Like a bunch did, but I did lose a bunch.
With everything that you've overcome and have gone through, did you ever suspect that shut up and grind would actually be a truly manifestation of your life?
I did, and really before any of that happened, when I was still training in my garage, one of my clients, she was about to pay me for the month. It was only $50 at the time because I didn't know any better. But so she goes to hand me the check, and then she pulls it back, and she's like, "I just want you to know before I give this to you." She said, 2 minutes from my house. This was when Planet Fitness was just coming on the scene. She's
Yeah.
like, "There's a brand new state of the art Planet Fitness 2 minutes from my house." She said, "I'm about to pay you 5 times the amount." She's like, "Because you believed in me before I believed in myself." It
Wow.
was in that moment was when I knew this was more than just losing weight and
Mm,
all that. It, so it like I tell people, yes, I'm a fitness coach, but I'm more of a personal development coach. And
mm.
if I can just share a quick example, so
Go right ahead.
one of my clients comes into the gym, and I could tell she's been crying. So she's like, "Can we talk, please?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So we go in the office, and she and her daughter had gotten into a car accident, and she herself was fine, but I guess her daughter had a really bad ankle injury, and so she's crying, and she says, "They told my daughter that she's not going to walk again." And I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, stop right there. Do not plant that seed into her head." I said,
Mm,
"Do not, like, my story. They told me I was never going to run a jump again." And after that diagnosis, I hit a 54-inch box jump in my 40s.
mm,
I said, so don't get that into her head.
mm,
I said, you speak with conviction. You tell her when you walk again, not if, when. When you walk again, when you get through this, when you recover. And then 4 months later, she was walking again. Because
mm,
what people don't understand is that the mind controls the body. So whatever you tell yourself, your body's going to respond accordingly. And to give you a real time example, I am 8 weeks removed from a knee replacement surgery. So I had the surgery January 14th. I had I put a race on my calendar in June,
Yeah.
a Spartan race, and people are like, "How are you going to race in June? Like, doesn't this take like a year?" I was like, "Don't put somebody else's recovery on me." I said, I said, I'm preparing to race in June. My first day of physical therapy, I walked in and I said, "What's the fastest someone's gotten released from care after a knee replacement?" And they said 8 weeks. I said, challenge accepted. I got released in six. So whatever you tell yourself, your body's going to prepare you for it.
You are. I know this is crazy. I had my knee replacement in January. I had the other
Really?
one. I had double knee replacements 4 months apart.
No kidding.
I'm not even.
Wow.
I'm not even at the 2 year mark yet. And I asked the same thing. I was like, "How long is this supposed to take?" And it was like, "Well, it takes up to a year." And I'm like, "Okay, what's the worst that can happen within that year? What do I need to expect within that year if I decide to continue to train?" First thing I said is, "Can I run?" And he got the looking at me. He says, "I don't think I've ever seen anybody run." I said, "I'm gonna run." I said, "I'm going to run." I said, "What's
Yep.
the worst things that's going to happen?" He said, "Well, swellings." I said, "Okay, that's perfectly fine." But let's go back to you. It's funny that you had your knee replacement. You motivated this lady, and I like the way that you reprogrammed her way of thinking. How many of us need to really? Let me go here with this thought. Let me go here with this thought. You work with people on all aspects. What is the number one crippling factor for self destruction? Is it the mind? Is it the body? Is it our environment?
It's fear.
Wow.
One word, fear. People that struggle with self-doubt is because they're afraid of the outcome. Like people fear public speaking. It's not the public speaking, you fear the reaction. You fear the judgment. What if people laugh at me? What if I cry on stage? People that's the actual issue is fear. Like me, I can share. I can share that I live with my mom. I have zero shame in that. What she gave me life. Why would I be shameful of that? And now that I'm over the hump, I help her just as much as she helped me. It's like we got 3 feet of snow here a couple weeks ago. It's like she couldn't have done that by herself. You know, so we help each other here. But I get on these platforms, I had zero shame. When I first moved in,
Mm-hmm.
I did have that shit. Like I'm 48 years old. I'm like that stereotypical living in my mom's basement. But the title of my second book is going to be called From My Mother's Basement because I'm about to launch a speaking empire here in a couple weeks. So
Wow.
it's not about where you live. It's about what you create where you are. I know I kind of went off a little bit there.
No, man, look, I didn't think look, it's not like we got a script in front of us.
True,
No,
true. I mean, like, but just look over my shoulder here. What do you see there?
I can barely see. It looks like
Uh,
a poster.
that's a lion. That's right next
Yeah,
to my
yeah,
bed.
I see it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right next to my bed. That's what I wake up to every morning. And if the alarm clock happens to beat me, because typically I wake up before my alarm clock, it's a video of me reminding me what my goals are. Because I get up at 4:30 every morning, and that's what I wake up to. It's like get up. People are dependent on you. You got lives to change. Let's go.
Let's talk about real quick before we wrap up.
Yep.
Let's talk about your children. I
Okay.
know you said something that was really breathtaking to me. Here's a guy that you gambled on, but you got 5 kids.
Mhm.
What's that relationship like? I know they got to look at you now and be like, not looking at you in a bad light, but to see everything that you've accomplished and everything that you've done, and despite of losing a home, you still provided a way to keep that bond. What was that emotional side for them like watching their dad go through this?
Well, ironically enough, so this answer is probably gonna shock you. I got 3 out of the 5 aren't talking to me right now. So Yeah, it's such an odd journey. Like, and with my oldest, like I don't even that came out of left field. But he's down in Tennessee with his mom. My I have two of them who are away. My oldest daughter, she's in the Navy, and my younger daughter, she's at Penn State for college. And then I have twin boys. I still talk to them on the regular, but before we had the falling out, like they would one of the most touching moments was with my oldest daughter because they would come with me to the gym. Like they would run our birthday parties and they would help out with the kids classes. So like they were very involved with the gym. I remember I came in one early morning and my daughter was with me the night before and I didn't realize she had done this. And it'll seem so small, but it meant so much. So I flip on the lights, I go to turn on the computer, and on the monitor there's a little post-it note that says, "I'm so proud of you for making your dreams come true."
Wow.
And like 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm crying. I'm like, I have to teach class in a few minutes, but even though we might have some tension now, they still understand the journey. They understand following their dreams. That's how my son ended up in Tennessee. That's how my daughter ended up in the Navy. And my younger daughter always wanted to go to Penn State. My twin boys are playing varsity volleyball this year. So the teachings are there, and to me, that's the biggest thing. Like three of them are adults now, so if you want to go do your own thing, go ahead. My job is done, But I instilled that drive that even though it's kind of dark outside, you can see enough to keep moving forward, and that's the biggest thing I wanted them to understand is don't quit just because it gets a little tough.
The viewers that are listening to this, the millions of viewers that are listening to this, I know they feel the heartfelt emotions and the things that you've gone through, but from your own words, what should the viewers really listen for out of your story and to help them have that beast mindset, or should we say the shut up and grind attitude?
So the biggest thing I always tell people on a couple different fronts, if there's something from your past that you haven't healed from, face it, right?
Hmm.
Face it, feel what you gotta feel, but then start the story from just after what happened. Right. So I watched my father pass away in 2019. But if I stay at that place, I'm never gonna get over it.
Hmm.
So you have to revisit what happened, but then start the story from when we left the hospital. Because at this point, he's gone and he's not coming back, right? There's nothing we can do about that. So
Hmm.
whatever happened in your past, whatever happened, right? And you can't undo it. So what you can do now is all the times that it didn't break you, there are inspirational things that are left behind. So like even
Hmm.
though dad is not here in this physical person, there's things that he built, there's life lessons that he gave me, the memories of him being at all my sporting events, him helping me build all the things I needed built when I opened up my gym. Like there's so many positive things to pull from that moment.
Hmm.
So once you can remove yourself from the pain, then you can start your healing journey. Like you don't have to stay stuck in that pain. And then in the career end, if you're in a career that's not fulfilling you, because there are people that have the house, they have the car, they have the money, they take the vacations, but they dread going to the job.
Hmm.
If you're in that place, figure out what it is that makes you happy and find a way to monetize that so you can wake up and live within your purpose instead of just working to get paid.
Wow. Okay. How come you didn't book to come on here a long time ago?
I don't know.
Robert, how can the viewers reach out to you and know more about your book and your new book and the whole 9 yards? How can they get in contact with you?
Yes, so my website, robertbfoster.com, has all of the links, social medias at Robert B. Foster. LinkedIn and Instagram are a little different because unfortunately I didn't start all the channels at the same time and I have a common name. Hence why I go by Robert B. Foster because there's
Right.
probably a million Robert Fosters out there. So that's why I emphasize the B. And
Uh,
you can email me too at robertbfoster.com.
guys, make sure you subscribe, like, share, follow. click that button. All it takes is one click to make a difference in your life or change somebody else's. Robert, it's a pleasure having you on. Love to have you come back. Forgive me for the mix up. My penmanship ain't the best. When I write really, really quick. But make sure you guys also download the podcast. Tell them how they can get to hear your podcast and the name of the podcast again.
Yeah, so the podcast is Shut Up and Grind, and it's on all of the major podcast platforms. But if I can have 30 seconds to share one more thing, if that's okay.
You can do whatever you like to do.
For the veterans out there. So this particular app, I created a web-based app. It's completely free. It's to stop veterans from taking their life. So what it is, it's you go to speaklikeawarrior.com. You answer 21 questions about what you went through, whether you were deployed or here at home. But whatever is hurting you, whatever's keeping you up at night, you answer these 21 questions, and an AI is linked to it, and the AI reframes your story into an inspirational one. So even if you don't do anything with it, you just read that story back to yourself and see how that journey didn't break you. So for the veterans out there, again, it's speaklikeawarrior.com.
Wow. And you heard it here first
Yep.
on the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Thank you so much. Matter of fact, I'm going to have you come back and talk a little bit more about that. And
Okay.
especially with our veterans. I think that's great that you provided an outlet and give them a chance to voice what they went through and have AI basically reformat it. And beautiful idea. I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you
Thank
click
you.
subscribe and follow once again. Robert, once again, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, like always, this has been another, and I do mean another, exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton.
Thank you for having me.
Show.